Morning everybody, welcome back. Simply snuff time. I've just been down to Greg's for a bit of breakfast. Bacon roll, cup of coffee, blowing a gale out there. Cold as hell, miserable. So I've come down here and I thought I'll sit in here and do a little video. Try not to bother anybody. There's a couple in here that don't seem to appreciate my presence, but you know, the fisticuffs there. I'm a lover, not a fater. Anyway, oh, by the way, first thing to say, happy birthday, Mrs. M. Have a lovely day, have a lovely birthday. I love you very much. We'll have a nice dinner tonight and all will be well with the world. Happy birthday, love. Right, that said, Jip. I think you all know Jip is my number one, yes, my number one snuff. It's my favourite snuff. It was, it is, it will be. Absolutely cracking. Just got 3 fresh tins from the Black Swan around the corner. It's fresh in, she told me it's banging fresh. So, and I've opened this tin and I know it's absolutely in perfect, tip-top condition. Now, I like this snuff so much, I thought, actually, I've been taking it all this time. I keep banging on about it all the time. But actually, I don't know a lot about it. You know, I don't know much of its history or where it came from. So I thought I'd do a bit of research and I'd find a little bit more about it, where it came from, what its history is. First protocol, I got in touch with McChrystals, who were very helpful, as always, lovely people down there. But actually, they didn't know too much about it. They gave me as much information as they had, and then I started doing a little bit of research. So I've come up with a few snippets, a few bits and pieces. I've got a few images that I'll put up here, and I'll either put them on here or I'll reference them in the comments below. Who knows? I'll do something to make sure you don't miss out on them. Anyway, I've got 3 tins and I've got this one. First thing to do is blow my nose and take a bump of Jip. Now I'm going to try and keep this brief, so how's that? Yeah, 10 things. I'll try and keep it to 10 things. It might waffle on a bit. You know me, I like to waffle on. Jip. First thing, take a bump. This snuff is absolutely perfection. Absolutely superb. Look at that, mates. Look at that. That's a sight for sore eyes. The tin note, oh man, you just get this dreamy scent of menthol. And there is, when you get a cracking fresh tin, which this is, you get a little bit of citrus in there as well. Just a little touch of citrus in there. It's a finish grind, dead easy to pinch. Bang, there you are, have it. It's absolutely glorious. From the first bump you get it. Fantastic burn, sits in the nose perfectly, keeps on giving. It's not an here today, gone tomorrow, it's a real steer. You get that menthol, and then when the menthol and the burn just going along nicely, you just get this, I think it's citrus. It's hard to pinpoint it, but it's drifting around in the background. It's very Moorish. If you've never tried this snuff, you've missed an absolute treat, mates. Do yourself a favour, get yourself a tin or 2. You know, even if you don't like it when you've tried it, you've had a bit of history. Yes, as I'm going to explain to you, a bit of history. So this dates back to the recipe dates back to the 1930s. As far back as that, and it was originally made and sold by a chemist company called Leicester's Chemist, and they were based in Nuneaton. And it was their original recipe, and they sold it over the counter, and it was sold for medicinal purposes, yes, by the chemist. And that went on for quite some time, and they did very nicely with it, and they were selling lots of it. I don't actually know what the product was called at that time. I'd like to think it's Jip, but I don't think for a minute it was. Anyway, eventually that company was bought by a national company called Boots the Chemist, They're still going, still here in the UK. They've got branches. They've got one here in Whitby, and it was bought by Boots. But the snuff didn't fit with what they did, so they actually sold the recipe, and it was sold to a company called JIP Limited, based in Nuneaton. They were on Attleborough Road in Nuneaton, Warwickshire, I think it is. And the MD, the guy that bought it, was called Mr. Cyril Luce, and Mr. Luce, Loose. So Mr. Luce and his son ran the company, and they had one part-time lady who worked for them, who used to do the packing and shipping and all of that type of stuff. Right, let me just make sure I'm getting this right. So they acquired it. Now, I don't know quite when they acquired the company. I get the feeling, reading between the lines, that it was sold by the original company for quite some time, but I think towards the late 30s, early 40s, it was probably bought by JIP Limited, and I think that's where the name comes from. JIP Limited, Attleborough Road in Nuneaton, Warwickshire. Yeah, there you go. Their biggest customer at the time was the National Coal Board, and whenever I go around and occasionally I see people taking snuff, and they're about my age, you can bet, a pound to a pinch of snuff, they used to work down the pits. That was a big market for JIP Limited, and they used to sell about 10,000 tins of JIP into canteens around the coal boards, around the collieries, all around the UK, about 10,000 tins a month, yeah. So it was a big seller, the coal board. Obviously they sold to other customers, but the biggest was the National Coal Board. But when Maggie Thatcher got sorted them all out, and the collieries started to close, that business with the coal board started to decline. The last colliery that was selling the snuff to was Haunchwood Colliery, and that was in Nuneaton. Haunchwood Colliery. You can search that. You'll find a bit of history on Haunchwood, and that was the last National Coal Board colliery that they actually sold the JIP. Now again, I'm not sure that they called it JIP, and I'm not sure whose this brand here actually was. I'd like to think it was theirs, but I'm not sure, and maybe I need to go back to McChrystal's and ask them about that. But they were selling it and did very nicely. However, after the coal board went, the business started to decline somewhat, and the brand and the recipe was bought by McChrystal's, and McChrystal's are still making it and selling it today. Sold in over 30 countries worldwide. It's a big seller for them. I don't know how many tins they sell. I didn't ask them. It's none of my business. It's commercially sensitive information, so I wouldn't ask them. So when they bought it, one gentleman actually went to work for McChrystal's for a short time in the factory, just to make sure they got the transfer of the recipe, they got it absolutely bang on before they started putting it in the tins and selling it. And I think that was Mr. Luce's son. I think it was, reading between the lines, and he worked for them for a while. The rest is history. Since then, since the late 80s, JIP has been sold by McChrystal's. I would have thought it's their bestseller, I would think. I reckon ONG is just a derivative of this one. It's very like it, but it's not the same. It's just, as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing else like this. Have I got it up? Yeah, there's nothing else like this. This, for me, is the absolute king of snuffs. I treat myself to another bump. So that's it, mates. It doesn't take me long, has it? 8.5 minutes. It's long enough. I keep dripping it on the table. So, take me hat off. Take me out if you can see me handsome face. So, just a summary, JIP. The recipe dates back to the 1930s. It was originally made and sold by a company called Leicester's The Chemist in Nuneaton, Warwickshire. It was bought by JIP Limited, also in Nuneaton, and they were based on Attleborough Road in Nuneaton. The biggest customer was the National Coal Board. They sold about 10,000 tins per month to the National Coal Board. That business continued, and the company prospered until the decline of the collieries. The last colliery they sold to was Haunchwood Colliery. Once that closed, the NCB business died. I think they bumbled along from there. The company, the recipe and brand name was actually bought by McChrystal's in the late 80s. I think Mr. Luce Jr. went to work for McChrystal's for a while until the recipe was successfully transferred, and McChrystal's have been making it and selling it ever since, and it's sold in 30 countries worldwide. And if you've never tried this snuff, give it a go. As I said, I think I said at the beginning, even if it's not your favourite, you're having a bit of snuff history. That's what I like. Excuse me, a bit of snuff history. But to be honest with you, if you don't like this, I don't know what to do with you. Honestly, go stand in a corner somewhere. You naughty person. I might give Mrs. M a tin for her birthday. What do you think? Do you think you'd enjoy that? I don't. Oh, mates. Get that up your nose holes. Sit back and just enjoy it. It's absolutely magnificent. If they ever stop making jip, I'll top myself. Right, mates, that's it. I've got to get on with the rest of my day. Yes, we're going to have a nice dinner for Mrs. M's birthday. I'm taking her out. We're going out with some friends for a bit of dinner. And then we're decorating the cottage again next week. We're giving it a bit of a facelift. I've done all the kitchen. It's looking absolutely gingangoly. And we're going to set about the bathroom next. And then the bedroom and so on and so on. And we'll get it all done in the next few weeks. Anyway, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed it. A pot of history of jip, absolutely fantastic. As I say, just give it a go, mate. It's no money, is it? It's coppers, and it's a bit of snuff history. Come on, get on board, give it a go. If you've tried it, leave your comments below, please. Whatever you think, leave your comments below. I'd absolutely love to hear from you and your thoughts on what you think to jip. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all later. I'll put my hat on. I'm a looking. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Chin chin.